Cody back here again with another vinyl finds video. And of course, this past Friday was Black Friday Record Store Day. Really, overall, not the list that I thought was really overly great. There was a few items on that list that I did want, but I definitely feel like past Black Friday Record Store Days had more stuff on there and more items that I really wanted. But there was a few items that I wanted. Like most years, not able to get everything that I wanted, but for the most part, I got the main things, which is really only just about 2 items. The one thing that I wasn't able to get was the Neil Young Harvest Moon reissue. I think it was like limited to 5,000 though, so I'm sure eventually I'll be able to get my hands on it. So I'm not really, too worried about it. But the items I did pick up, and I went to the Vinyl Rescue Project that day. And the funny thing is, I actually went to Luna Music the day after, that Saturday night, and they had everything that I wanted besides, they didn't have the Neil Young in there, of course, but they did have everything that I grabbed on Black Friday Record Store Day. Like, they had multiple copies of, the first item that I picked up here is the Chris Cornell, Pensier EP, of course, from the movie's Singles. I think this originally came out on CD in like 1992, then they reissued it for Record Store Day this year, Black Friday Record Store Day, on vinyl and cassette. And the cover, that came with 3 different covers you could get. I think it was like orange and pink, and then obviously green. They had multiple copies of this at Luna. But definitely cool. It's got Seasons, Nowhere But You, Spoonman, Flutter Girl, and Missing. It's actually the tracks that were on the bonus disc on the Singles album, and not on the actual vinyl, so it's actually a really nice compliment piece to the single soundtrack, so definitely had to pick that up. And the next item I wanted to get and was the Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds Live at Luther College. Just an amazing set, an amazing concert. Definitely knew I had to get this one when it came out, and I'm definitely glad I was able to get one. But didn't really seem like it was that difficult to get either, because I mean, like I said, I went to Luna the next night, and they still had one of these still left. It's limited to 3,000, at least that's what it says. The one they had at Luna was actually number higher than 3,000. This one I have those 2,857, so, but definitely had to get that one. And then the after going to the record store on that day, I went to Half Price Books. Didn't really find anything too much there, but they had 20% off, and they had this Radiohead album, the Bends, if I could talk. The other reissue was, relatively cheap, and with 20% off, it was an album I didn't have, so I picked it up on Black Friday Record Store Day at Half Price Books. And another album I picked up weeks ago at Vinyl Rescue Project is the Bare Naked Ladies Gordon reissue. Definitely an album that I've always kind of wanted on vinyl. If I had $1 million, one song that I remember hearing, when I was very little. So definitely cool to have that on vinyl. So I remember my dad playing "If I Had $1 Million" all the time when it came out. So definitely brings back some memories hearing that song. But see, I did go to Irvington Vinyl a couple of weeks ago. It was when the Pearl Jam reissues came out. I actually did not pre-order the Pearl Jam reissues on Pearl Jam's website. I kind of learned my lesson from the last of the reissues, the No Code and Yield, because I ordered those albums and a few of the singles on the Tin Club, and I took like a week or two to get them after that was already released, and it seemed like you could go to any record store and they would have copies of No Code and Yield, and it was easily able to get. Of course, I didn't pre-order the albums, and it seemed like this wasn't the case this time. I went to the Vinyl Rescue Project. They didn't get any in. I even went to Barnes & Nobles. They didn't get any in. FYE didn't even have any of the single bundles that was FYE exclusive. They didn't have any of it, at least at the location that I went to. Indie CD and Vinyl only had, got the 10 in and some of the singles. And I called Irvington Vinyl, and to my surprise, they actually did get all the reissues in. And besides it, they didn't get all the singles in, but they got most of them in. So I went up there and I picked up all the reissues there. Of course, it got the that thing has the same single, and it's on green vinyl. And then Save You, it's on like kind of clear gray vinyl. And then Bush Leaguer. Those are the singles I got. I still actually have not been able to track down the other singles. But I did got all the reissues. I got the 10. You can never have too many copies of 10. This is like the third one I have on vinyl now. Of course, binaural. Probably the one that I was most excited for out of all of them to have that one on vinyl. Of course, Riot Act. Definitely psyched to have this one because I mean I have an original copy of Riot Act and the first disc was slightly warped and it didn't really affect the play, but it's nice to have one that's actually not warped. And of course, you know, Pearl Jam self-titled Avocado. Different mix as well. So really cool about that. And definitely super stoked to have all the reissues of Pearl Jam. Hopefully they do Live on Two Legs and hopefully do some more albums. But definitely super psyched that I was able to pick those up at Irvington Vinyl. And they were actually, that day we're having like a 20% off sale too, so it was like perfect timing. I ended up getting pretty much all that for the price of one album off, so I pretty much got one of the albums for free. It's kind of how I look at it anyway. And while I was there, I also did pick up Ben Folds Rockin' the Suburbs. I actually saw Ben Folds in concert a couple of weeks ago. It was an amazing show. It was the Paper Airplane Request Tour. So like the first half of the show was a set list that he actually put together. Then the next set was, you know, you'd have people write a song on a paper airplane and throw it onto the stage, and that's the song that he would play. Very very fun concert, but I saw Ben Folds. I've been kind of on a Ben Folds kick after seeing him, so I've been actually trying to pick up some Ben Folds and Ben Folds 5 albums. And I also did pick up a Ben Folds 5 Whatever and Ever album. Of course got Brick on it, and I mean a great album from Ben Folds 5, Whatever and Ever, Amen, if I could talk. And this one is a Barnes & Noble exclusive as well. On I think it's on blue vinyl. But definitely an awesome album as well. When surprisingly, he actually did not play Brick when I saw him, and people were shouting for him to play it. But of course, you know, he was doing the paper, and I'm sure there's a ton of paper airplanes on the stage with that song, you know, requested on it. But unfortunately, he didn't pick it up. His whole thing was kind of a respect the process, which was actually a, you know, pretty hysterical overall. But he did play Rockin' the Suburbs, and it was just an amazing show all around. Pretty much everything you'd want to hear, maybe other than Brick, was played, and definitely would see him again in a heartbeat. And did go, like I said, I did go to Luna. Didn't really pick up a whole lot of things at Luna. Because a lot of the stuff they had, like the Record Store Day stuff that they still had in stock, I had already picked up the day before. And the Neil Young that didn't have. But I did pick up a Meat Puppets 2. This is the 2012 reissue that plays on 45 speed. Just an amazing album from the Meat Puppets. Love this album from, well, I mean, of course I got Plateau and Lake of Fire on here, which kind of got, you know, made more famous from Nirvana doing them on MTV Unplugged. But just an amazing album from the Meat Puppets. Then I also did pick up, like I said, I was on a Ben Folds kick, so I picked up Ben Folds 5, Reinhold Messenger. Really good album as well. Really like the song Army on here. But really that is all the albums I have to show. So hopefully do another one sooner than later. Hopefully before the end of the year. As we actually, it's honestly crazy to me to think that this year is almost already over with. But you know, it's been a pretty solid year overall. Saw some really great shows. And really am looking forward to 2018 to see what it has in store, to hopefully find some more records and go to some more concerts and whatnot. But anyway, that is all I have to say, and that's all I really have to show. So thanks again, guys, for watching.